Hey, welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness. I'm here with my boy John. We're driving in the car. We're right in the midst of picking up. We're in New Mexico, right?
That's right, yeah. Driving between beautiful Durango, Colorado, down to Albuquerque, New Mexico to pick up our retreat attendees. We're actually kicking off our first in-person retreat for Men Talking Mindfulness and Movement RX. And here we are, enjoying the countryside, enjoying the beautiful views, the sights and the sounds. Although I guess most of the sounds are just us talking and the wheels rolling.
I'm really enjoying the sights, coming from New York, with the concrete jungle and people everywhere, buildings everywhere, not a lot of nature around, but just to be in these open spaces and the mountains and stuff. And it's really just great to hang with John, to be driving. We have like a 4-hour drive. So we thought we'd pop on and it's a Friday, so we have an episode that we're going to do, and John and I started talking about, our lives and our business lives and how we conduct our business, and we really hit on something very important. I think for anybody out there that does anything, not just business or in your business, but being impeccable with your word and how important that is for yourself, how that makes you feel, how it creates bond and trust between people that are around you, how it helps to grow in relationships. So we just want to drop in and talk about being impeccable with your word and why it's so important and how it can help you in all aspects of your life. But John, I don't know, what are your feelings or thoughts?
Well, I mean, what got us talking about this was I recently had a business interaction with a guy who I felt actually kind of used a bait and switch with me, in that he put a price out there for a service he was going to offer, and I agreed to this one price, and then when he started writing up the contract, he increased it by 50%. And
what a douche!
Right. And I called him out on it. I said, "Hey, you know what? That's not the number we agreed to." And he said, "Well, the number that was originally on the table, I never agreed to." He said he never agreed to it, but there was some communication back and forth via text. There was what I felt was a kind of a handshake agreement, if you will, to this price, and I said, okay, let's do it, and then he increased it by 50%, so I felt that there was this bait and switch. I called him out on it, and he proceeded to kind of degrade me. He actually called me dishonorable as a Navy guy. How could I be this way and everything else? Obviously, at that point, he's calling the customer dishonorable, and at that point the sale is lost, it's over and done with. But bottom line is, it came to his not keeping his word, and Will and I were talking about how important that is in business, but also how important it is in life, and how we are partners in business. Will and I are, and it's important to keep your word in the big things, but it's also important to keep your word in the little things. Like,
that's where it starts, right?
The little things. I mean, if you let the little things fall and you're like, oh, it's just a little thing, it's just a little white lie, it's just a small little business transaction. I mean, we go back and forth sending money via Venmo and everything else, hey, there was a $15 transaction and we split it $7.50, right? It's 50-50, it's straight down the middle. And it's because we keep our word to one another, is that we are 50-50 partners in this business. And that comes into play in business relationships, it comes into play in romantic relationships, it comes into play in familial relationships and friends. But how important keeping your word is, but also how that makes you feel when you do in fact keep your word. Right? How great that makes you feel, like, hey, you know what? I said I was going to do something, I did it, I kept my word. I am a man, or I'm a person of integrity. I'm a man or a person of honor, as far as I'm concerned. And for those who don't, yes, it feels bad when somebody tells you something and they don't keep their word to you. But what does that feel like as the person who doesn't keep your word, right? There's a lot to be said to that. Like, I'm sure that does not feel great. Like you said you were going to do something and now you didn't do it. There's a lot to be said for how that could make you feel negatively, and how the I guess the universe
Right.
makes you pay for it as well. It's karma.
For sure.
Karma.
Well, it's the trust. I mean, I think the first thing that comes up for me is like just to talk about how we've been doing things and how we've been building things. It's like we've developed a lot of trust in how we're doing things, the way we do things. Like when I say I'm going to do something, like I follow through all the time, and same when we grow this together, and in even in like romantic relationships, like you're growing together, and you have like a partner, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a business partner, whether you're on some sort of adventure together, and if you don't honor that word, it's like, what are you left with? I know I have people in my life, people that are very close to me, that don't honor their word, and I just like when I think about them or I want to do something with them, I'm like, well, I don't know if I can really trust them, and it's sad. Like I feel that sadness because I want to be able to trust them because they are someone that's very close to me. But then it's just like, well, are they going to follow through? Are they going to come up with some bullshit or make something up, or cancel at the last minute, because and the likelihood is they will, but also like sadly because that trust has been broken because that word hasn't been honored in the past because of just the history of our relationship. It's like I'm also maybe projecting, the fact that they're not going to honor their word again, and there's just like the feelings the unspoken feelings, the unspoken thoughts that are shared even on the kind of the back end of distrust. It's like there's nothing to build on, I guess, and I forget. There's like lots of. I think the Bible talks about honoring your word and how important your word is, and I know the things I've understood, like from the yoga tradition. It's like your voice and your throat and the energy in those areas connected to your heart. So when you speak, and you speak in a trustworthy way, you speak in an honorable way, you speak in an impeccable way, like you're speaking more from your heart. Whereas when you break your word, you don't honor what you say. I'd imagine you're just speaking from your mind, from your ego, and the ego would be attached to some sort of desire to get something. Whereas like I think when you honor your word, there's that giving, that trust. It's like there's also there's a vulnerability that I think comes in to honoring your word and following through with what you want to do or what you said you're going to do. I don't know what's coming up for you.
Well, I think you hit on something there with the ego. Is an interesting kind of almost two-sided thing there, right? You got your ego, so you say yes to a lot of things. You say yes, I can do that. Yes, I will do that. In the instance, because you want to be someone who is seen as someone who is committing, who is someone who can be relied on. So it's how you want to be seen. But then when it really boils down to it, you cannot follow through and keep to your word. So now you're actually being someone who is seen as someone who commits but then doesn't follow through.
Right.
So in my eyes, that's worse than someone who says no at the front,
right.
The front end, right? Hey, I can't do that because of my time. I can't do that because of my money. I can't do that because right now I cannot commit for one reason or another. Hey, at least at that point you're being honest.
Right. And there you go. You're still being impeccable with your word.
Impeccable with your word, right. which comes from, if you've ever read the book, The Four Agreements, that's the first agreement, is to be impeccable with your word. Everything that you say is truth. Everything that, or at least you attempt, because in one of the other agreements is to do your best, right? Sometimes there are
excellence, right?
Yeah,
I think it's excellence. Yes.
Yeah. So anyhow, in saying that you're going to do something and then not doing it, or intentionally deceiving, saying you're going to do something and then knowing you're in fact going to do something else, right. that destroys the foundation for any type of relationship, whether that again is a business transaction or a friendly relationship or a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
As soon as there's a level of distrust, that foundation is gone, and now how do you build upon that shaky or broken foundation? It's impossible to, or next to impossible. It's really hard
to
regain trust after it's been broken. Now it can be done, but it takes a while, and it takes a lot of effort on the part of the person who has been lied to and the person who has done the lying.
Yeah.
There's work on both sides of that.
Well, two things I want to talk about: how we set boundaries around language. Right? How do you say no in a way that honors your word, honors the other person that has this request, right? But still keeps the opportunity open.
Right.
But also, what I want to hit on now, it's like if you're not impeccable with your word with someone else, right? Then what is that? That's just a reflection of how you are with yourself anyway.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in a huge way. In a huge way, right? Like if you're going to say you're going to get up in the morning and do X, Y, and Z, like whether go to the gym or start writing or do something beneficial for yourself, and you break that, like you break that commitment to yourself, where they say like, outside, inside is just a manifestation of outside. So if you're doing that to yourself on the inside, and that's the conversation with you and your ego and the self in a lot of ways. Like you're speaking to yourself, maybe not verbally out loud, but there is like, I'm going to do this tomorrow, or I'm going to get this thing done by Friday, whatever it is. And if you don't follow through, and I do this, sometimes where I don't honor a commitment that I'm making to myself, and I hope that that doesn't mean that I like go out and break all of my all the trust or all my word in other relationships, but where does that leave you, and what happens right when you do honor your word, right? And I feel great. When I hit the gym at like 5:30 in the morning or something like that to get my workout in before I have like a busy day, I feel fantastic. Right. When I don't get up and I say I'm going to do it, and maybe I do it like feebly and just like, I'll just get up, and I don't, and I make excuses and I hit the snooze button. And the rest of my day, I don't feel like, because I broke that trust in myself in the morning, I kind of lost some sort of inspiration or some sort of mojo that could have carried me through a day with more creativity, just more inspiration continually, because like I honored that first commitment during the day. I honored my word in the first day in doing this, because every time, like, John and I just had a situation we had a guest on the show, and we needed to get some different t-shirt sizes to kind of we're going to start, for our guests out there, we're going to start giving some t-shirts for our guests and stuff like that, because we kind of found a way to do it that's economically feasible and fun, and we landed on it. I actually have I'll show the shirt a little bit later, John, the Super MTM t-shirts. But we needed a different size, and I was like, and like my cousin runs he's helps us with the t-shirts and getting everything printed and shipped and stuff like that. And we just needed to do a special order, and John was holding me accountable to it. Thankfully, like I love being held accountable in this regard, and I ended up following through, and it's just like, then I can when I see John in person, or next time I talk to him on the phone, I can look him honestly in the face, and there's nothing also in the background.
Right.
There's no because it's weird. Like feelings are weird when you break trust, you break your word, and then you face that person again. There's that elephant in the room, right? And it's like, and you're trying to skirt around the elephant, but the elephant's so fucking big that or it's like that you can't get around it. So the rest of the conversation isn't built on that trust, isn't built on that foundation, like you said. And then what's possible? What's not possible? Or what opportunities are you missing because of the growth of the relationship?
I really like that the elephant in the room, and that how that can limit the relationship, it can limit what you're capable of doing as partners. But I want to also tie that analogy or that metaphor back to being honest and keeping your word with yourself, right? So in your example, the gym, and that, that's just one of many examples that we could use. But you set the alarm the evening before, you wake up, you hit that snooze button rather than going to the gym. So you have broken your word to yourself.
First thing in the morning.
First thing. So what do you feel like the rest of the day, like you mentioned, right? That can really set you off for a worse day, not feeling as great, but also not feeling as great about the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yes.
You start to think of yourself as someone who cannot be relied upon. You have that elephant in the room with your own relationship, right? And you start thinking, well, I can't commit to getting up in the morning to go to the gym, so I can't commit to eating healthy. I can't commit to staying trustworthy with my partner. I can't commit to
anything else that you
Nick Gregoriadis. We talked about addiction to pornography. Somebody might say, you know what, I'm not going to look at porn, but now because they didn't wake up in the morning and work out, and now they're not drinking water, now they're like, you know what, fuck it. I'm not keeping my commitment to myself at all. I may as well look at porn.
Right.
I may as well do X, Y, and Z. I may as well eat all the freaking cake in the world. It's like the all or nothing mentality.
Right.
And as soon as you break that word to yourself, once you feel that you cannot rely on yourself for anything. Right. So you say, you know what, may as well. So,
well, I think you begin to you can kind of cascade or fall or domino, right? We talk about domino into your lower self.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So therefore it's just like, oh, well, I didn't get up in the morning, so fuck it, I'm going to have cake, and, like maybe a couple commitments. Like I'm going to get up, I'm going to work out, in the morning, and then I'm also like maybe you're love donuts in the morning or something like that. I'm not going to have my donut, I'm just going to, and then it's like, so you break that first commitment by not going to the gym. The likelihood of you having that donut is much higher, right? Because again, we're not intellectual beings. We use our intellect, but we're driven by our emotions. And if you don't continually lift into your higher self and by honoring your word, like it's so important, because then that we can go the other way with the domino. It's like, well, I got to the gym, so I'm not going to eat that donut, right? I'm going to be able to honor the rest of the commitments, like not watch porn for that day or something like that. And then you begin to domino in an ascending way into your highest self, in the one that you continually dream about, and when you do honor the word, you step a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself. Like I think one thing that's great what you're doing, John, now is training for this triathlon. I mean, you have 3 kids. We're working with Men Talking Mindfulness. You have you're working with 3D Media. You have other places that you're working. Oh, those are really cool, buddy. Look at those.
Oh yeah,
rocks over there. It's like toadstools. Sorry, we're in New Mexico right now. The John don't look at it. That's anyway. Just driving along the road here. But what is that like? I mean, last night we get into, we meet in Durango, all of us, and you have this very rigid training regimen because you want to beat Army's ass, and I think that's a good motivating factor, right? I mean, good motivating factor, but I'm exhausted. I am it's like 9 o'clock. I've been up since 3:30 in the morning, trying to fly, from east to west, and John literally at 9 o'clock at night in our little cabin at Colorado's ranch, he's putting in his miles. And I get inspired by that. Really. It's like, so I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, but what is that like? Sticking to your word, and kind of moving through, and then showing up, and how is that translating into the rest of your life?
Oh man, well, yeah, great. Thank you for bringing it up. Great point. Is the commitment to train for a half Ironman? I honestly severely underestimated when
not in training.
The time commitment is probably the biggest one. When my buddy Andy Reese challenged me to a head-to-head duel in a half Ironman, Army versus Navy, my ego and my pride was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. and then I realized fairly quickly that I'm not the 24-year-old who did the last Ironman. I think I was 24 or 25, something like that. I was in much better shape, much younger. I'm 20 years later, and with kids, the time commitment for the training is considerable. Now, that said, if you do put in the time, there's a return on that investment, and I think that's something that is, again, coming back to keeping your word. You put in the mileage on the bike, in the pool, on the runs, but it's really the deciding to do that, right? The discipline and the effort to put it into your schedule and then stick to it. Yes, physically it's great for you. It's good to do it. But like last night, it would have been very easy for us. I drove 6 hours from Colorado Springs to Durango, where we're having the retreat. We spoke for a while. Once we all got together, it was 9:30. I could have very, very easily said, you know what? I'm going to go to bed and I'll train tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'll do it another time.
There you go. Right. Yeah. That's the excuse.
Right.
Like that's the lower self. Like entering into the conversation.
Right.
And trying to break your trust. It's like, oh, I can sleep. I need more of this. I worked so hard today. I drove so many. The excuses are always going to be there.
Right.
Always, always, always. But when you overcome those excuses, that's when you get more than inspiration. That's when you become more powerful. That's when you realize, like, the only limits that we really have are the limits that we put on ourselves, and those limits come from our mind, and those, and that mind, that we're constantly changing, or we have the ability to change when we stick to our word, and we, neuroplasticity starts to change, and then it's like, what else am I capable of? Or also, again, going the other way, it's like, hit that snooze on Monday, right, and don't commit to your actions that you wanted to do on that particular day. Tuesday, the likelihood is like you're going to hit the snooze again. Wednesday, and you can be in a whole fucking lifetime of hitting snooze, if you will, and then bagging yourself or bagging on your word. But I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. So, it comes back to Molly Carmel and her talking about the dissonance, right? Continually putting it off until another time, another date,
right,
or whatever,
right.
Another year.
Tomorrow. Mañana.
It's August of 2022. I'll start in January of 2023. That's the new year. That's when I'll get started.
Right.
Well, Eric Thomas, the motivational speaker, E.T., he talks about, hey, if you don't get started today, you could wait another year, another 2 years, another decade to reach your goal. He says the longer you wait, the longer you will wait. Meaning, the longer you wait to get started on working towards your goal, the longer you will wait toward achieving that goal. But coming back to getting on the bike late last night, I rode for a little bit and put in the miles, and the accountability is there, sure, with my buddy Andy Reese.
Well, that's helpful. That's the accountability is big, especially if you want to get started.
Yeah.
And you want to kind of get out of the slump that you've been in for maybe a year, 2 years, 10 years, right? Accountability can be very important.
Huge.
I mean, very, very important. And even investing in that accountability, as far as like getting a coach, that's a really cool mountain too.
That is.
You know what I mean? So anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Well, so the accountability was there, but then I had also told myself, I'm going to get my mileage in tonight, no matter what.
Yeah.
And then when I actually did it,
I
felt so much better. Physically, yes. Again, physically, that's great, and I appreciate that side of things. But mentally, I was like, hell yeah, I got it done.
Yeah.
And so I felt better about myself. I feel more confident in myself, but I also feel that the other things that I tell myself I'm going to do, I feel that there's actually a better chance of me doing that. So it's that success begets success.
Right.
So it's a foundation upon which other things are built. And I knew that if I didn't stick to that, then I would start beating myself up, thinking negative stories.
Yeah, you would have been an asshole today.
Yeah, I probably would have been. So,
feel like regretting. Again, that's the elephant right there.
That's right.
That's the elephant. Like I didn't do, that's subtly sitting in the background. That negative emotion of like I didn't do what I said I wanted to do, and then also the fact that you're in competition with somebody else, like which is another motivating factor, which is like doubling down on it or like bringing another negative emotion.
Yeah.
And it's and I think one thing like stacking wins is what when you talked about that motivational speaker, like one day a year, it's like there is only the day, right? It's like you can think about a year, but the year is kind of a series of days. It's like it's a concept of time, whereas like the only thing that we have is like one day at a time. And if you can just go from one day to the next, just little victories, like just starting to get up earlier instead of sleeping in and like really really late, and just getting up and whatever that first thing that you want to do, just even getting up at like 5-6 o'clock in the morning if that's what you want to do, or maybe just like committing to, you know, whatever you want, writing your book, like, or like, you know, for whatever particular time during the week or something like that. Like it's just one little win is going to take you to the next. One little loss is going to take you into the next, and you know, we're energetic beings, and so work in that energetic realm is what is like, in the sense of like, what is going to inspire me? And if you're keeping your word to yourself, then you're definitely going to be more likely to keep your word to other people. I mean, 100%, huge.
100%.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's huge. And but that brings up, it's like, okay, what happens when you really want to do something, but you know, you have to say no, or you don't know if it's the right time, like kind of setting being in your word, right? In like almost a negative way, but maybe how do you keep that, this is a little bit different, but like how do you build that potential relationship by, you know, sticking to your word and honoring your word, or I might be going off a little. No, I'm not. You know what I mean? But like, so what are some things that come up for you when I talk about like?
I think one of the things, and we discussed this right before we hit record, was, you know, being mindful in how you say no, right?
Yeah.
So again, coming back to the ego, one of the reasons you say yes is so you want to be well liked. You want to be able to do the thing that you commit to, but then because of time or one reason or another, you're not able to. So what I've found is a good way of saying no, a tactical or maybe a tactful way of saying no, and maybe this may be delaying the fact of actually saying no, but I say I would love to help as time and availability allow.
There you go.
And I found, you know, that at least shows that you're committed to the person. You want to help, but you just can't, or your time and availability may not allow it. So you're not, I guess in one way, you're not actually saying no,
right?
But you're showing you care.
Yeah, and you're honoring the request.
You're honoring the request.
Right.
And it's better than saying yes and then not doing it, right? So I think what I'm trying to say here is be mindful of how you potentially say no or yes. If you say yes, you got to be mindful about your time,
right? And honoring that, yes,
and honoring it. You've got to be mindful of your time and your commitments and your availability. So that's the mindfulness side coming into play. And if you are not available, or you don't feel that you're going to be available, don't say yes. Say, I would love to help as time and availability allow, or something to that effect. Because that is going to build a foundation of trust better than saying yes and then not following through.
Right, and then canceling again and again. And that's like, and that happens a lot. Like maybe even in just friendly relationships, it's like, hey, let's go and do this thing. Like, let's go out on Friday or whatever. Let's go have some fun. And so you commit to hanging out on Friday, and then Friday comes and the other person is canceling on you. You know, and it's like, and granted, it's not just, it's a relationship, regardless whether it's a friendly relationship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship. You know, and that word is always people remember that, and because people, what is it? Maya Angelou says people will.
They'll remember how you've made them feel.
Yeah, well, remember how they'll forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, right? Forget what you did, right? But they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Right.
Again, that comes back to our core of our being, the feeling being. So that feeling's always going to be there, and you know, in friend relationships, it's a little easier. Like, you know, cancel. I had this one friend of mine in New York that, you know, we really enjoy each other's company. He's a great guy. But we're like, he's really, really busy, and you know, he's kind of always not necessarily can. It's like, hey, what about Wednesdays? Like, I think I could do Wednesdays, right? So it's like, so he's not committing to Wednesday to kind of hang out or get a coffee or something like that and reconnect. And then sure enough, Tuesday comes or Wednesday comes, like, hey, what's today look like? He's like, I can't. And it's like, and I'm forgiving that way because we already have that trust, and I know that we really care about each other, and he's a really good guy, and we're really there for each other. And if I needed him, like, yo, dude, like, I need you right now in some whatever it is for help or something like that. Like, he would be there instantaneously, or call one of his other friends and be like, hey, go help Will right now, because he's like, he cares, and he comes from that place of we already have that trust, and maybe that's something too. It's like early on, whatever kind of relationship it is, if you continually honor this trust, like you talked about, that potential business relationship to help us with our business, and this guy turned out to be a complete douchebag. Like the whole bait and switch. I mean, that is just breaking trust right there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to work with anybody that does that. I don't care how impressed. I don't care. Like, your resume doesn't make a difference. You break trust to me, like, you get immediately put in a category where I'm like, I don't know if I can trust that guy.
Yeah.
And always the question in the back of my head, even a year later, that person comes back into my life, or, is trying to get more business from me, or do something else. Like, I don't know. But, and I'm also more of a giving person. So, like, maybe I'll try. And you know what? Half the time, or more than half the time, in situations like that, they break their word again. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, forget about it. Like, I just, like, I'm never going to business with this person, or never, like, why should I continue to have a relationship with this person if they've proven to be untrustworthy?
Right.
And for me, as far as, like, boundaries, like, I always just go, but, like, I need to check my calendar. Hey, what about doing this? And it's like, I got to check my calendar. And I don't do it necessarily in that moment because, like, a lot of my time is occupied by, my creative pursuits and my business pursuits, and and I like to create or put those as a priority outside of, like, having fun or doing something like that. Or maybe I should kind of balance it out a little bit more, and I do. I mean, we're this, like, retreat that we're going on, we're driving right now, I'm having a blast. This isn't really work, but it is, as far as, like, creating or helping our audience understand what it means to be impeccable with your word. I get to carry, I don't know, I feel better about myself when I keep my word all the time. Like when I did that little thing yesterday with the t-shirts, and it came through, and we had the answers we need, and we're getting the product that we want. It's just like, I just feel great. I feel very satisfied. There's no elephant on the inside. There's no elephant, on the outside between us. And
that's just a little thing, right?
Yeah, it's little, but it's also huge.
But imagine if that had been a much bigger thing too, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else with. Great book that Miguel Ruiz. No, what's his name?
Yeah,
it's three names.
Yes, it's always tough for me to remember that one.
Yeah.
The bottom line, if you look up the 4 agreements.
Yeah. First thing.
Agreement: be impeccable with your word, and how that makes you feel. One last thing, and then I'll shut it down. Matthew McConaughey, in his book The Green Lights, and then he has a talk, I think it's at the University of Houston, where he talks about, don't leave crumbs. And the crumbs in life are the things that make you feel anxious, make you feel stressed because of the things that you've done. So, like, his example is, you're cheating on your wife, and now your wife is going to the PTA meeting and meeting with the woman that you're having an affair with, or you have a buddy that you owe money to, and you go to a movie theater, and now he's sitting in the row behind you.
There you go.
And you feel this, like, hey, we talked about the elephant in the room. Right. Now you feel like you have an elephant sitting on your chest.
Right. That's a big fucking elephant.
Yeah, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to go through life without having these elephants pop up, whether they're elephants in the room or they're elephants that are sitting on your chest. Yeah. You want to be able to go through life without that. So don't leave crumbs, like Matthew McConaughey says.
Yeah. I love elephants, but don't accumulate too many elephants. Right? Elephants that are just like that are or even procrastination is another probably a huge outcome of breaking your word with yourself.
Yep.
Not getting your stuff done. But what happens when you do? And every time that I check something off of something I've been wanting to do, I just feel like, oh, that feels awesome, and much more likelihood of stacking those wins. And then in my relationships, it's like, it just feels. Also, I feel like an activated and I live in my full humanity when I honor my word to myself and others, and I love that, because I don't have a lot of, I don't think I cleaned up all my crumbs. I don't think there's anything lurking back there.
It's back there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, back there in Durango or in Colorado. But all right, well, I'm just gonna end it there. Hey, thanks this is a great, John. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. And I wanted to just put out a quick disclaimer.
Yeah.
I kept my eyes on the road the whole time. I never looked at the camera, but definitely enjoyed the conversation with you, Will.
Yeah.
And for you guys who are tuning in to the video or the audio later, thanks for listening. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there, and you can subscribe to our podcast now on both Spotify and Apple. So we'd love to have you subscribe for some exclusive content there that we're putting out. And we are very thankful for you as our audience. If you feel you got something out of this episode, please share it with your friends, family, whoever else you think could benefit from listening. And otherwise, make sure you keep your word. Keep your word to yourself and keep your word to others. Be impeccable with your word. Until next time, peace.
Peace, guys. Thanks. Peace.